Good morning. On today's Inside the Game, Western Michigan's head coach Lewis Robinson stops by. We pause to remember September the 11th, 2001. Plus, your reaction to the U.S. men's national team win over Japan and much more.
Welcome to Inside the Game on the National Soccer Network. Now, here are your hosts, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wangler.
Good morning and happy Thursday morning is episode number 156 here on this September the 11th. I'm Jonathan Turner. That's Nate Wangler, Ryan Glinsky, our producer. We're happy to have you here on this Thursday morning. And first off, Nate, before we get into anything this morning, the Whitecaps have started their playoff run. How are things going for them?
They have an opportunity tonight to clinch a championship or spot in the championship series. So I know I'm excited, man. I haven't gotten the opportunity in these years doing professional baseball to do any playoff games. So last time we were there was 2018, and at that point I was just like a press box attendant, which essentially meant that I just like passed out all the papers and cleaned up all the stuff and got everyone whatever they needed. So this is my first time actually getting to experience the postseason in a professional baseball setting. So that'll be, especially with just one to go to get there. And then, you know, if we do get there, I'll be able to take the trip on the road with the guys out west if they end up going to the championship, the final two games. So yeah, I'm excited. It's this is going to be a fun atmosphere because playoff baseball is different. You're kind of hanging on every pitch in playoff baseball. That's why I love the postseason. I wish it was earlier because I think people would be a little bit more invested in it. But because I think by this point they kind of forget about it and they move on to football and everything else. But it's going to be electric for sure.
So Dan from Indiana is saying good morning. So good morning. That's on TikTok right now. So if you are tuning in on TikTok, we are live on Roku, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook this morning.
Follow the TikTok, by the way.
And follow us on TikTok. So don't. We're so close to 1,000. We're getting closer and closer by the day. We are going to talk about 9/11 this morning. We are going to dive into that. We obviously are going to have a conversation with Western Michigan women's head soccer coach, Lewis Robinson. They have been a force to be reckoned with the last number of years, and he is a huge reason as to why that is. We'll talk with him here in our second segment here coming up. Before we do that, yesterday afternoon, an American was killed in front of 3,000 people, and now the entire world is obviously acutely aware of how he was gunned down. And we have always tried to steer clear of politics on this show. As I said before, when we've talked about other mass shootings and other things that have been tragic in the United States, we've oftentimes said that if you are looking for that political rhetoric, you're looking for that, there's lots of places you can go, and this is not one of those places. Where I'm at right now, where my heart is in regards to this, is how desensitized we are when it comes to this. I found out yesterday that he had been shot. I found out yesterday that he had died on my way home from here at the studio, doing something that I love to do. I love to get in front of this microphone, this camera, and talk each and every day with you, Nate, and with you, Ryan, and to the audience who's tuning in. I would imagine that Charlie Kirk felt the same way. Loved to do what he did, right? I mean, to go in front of an audience of people who in most cases don't want to hear what you have to say or don't agree with you is one of the most challenging things that you could ever do in your entire life, and he did it on a regular basis. And for that, I applaud him. But where we are desensitized as a country is this. I had gotten very little sleep on Tuesday night because we had traveled to Columbus. We talked about that yesterday on the show. So I got home yesterday. I pull into my driveway. I'm getting some information about what had happened in regards to the shooting, but I was exhausted, and I needed a mental break. I needed to step away. I needed to go and take a nap for a bit, to a refresher, so that I could, hang out with my kids last night. I'm in my bedroom. I'm to be fair, I'm almost falling asleep, right? Sometimes you guys know this, you get really tired. You don't always necessarily fall asleep right away, right? It takes a minute or two to kind of wind down. And so I was in that wind down period when my son Nathan burst into my room and goes, Dad, did you hear Charlie Kirk had died? I go, yeah, I did know. And he immediately puts in my face the shot, and the aftermath. The unedited version is in my face. Now, I've seen someone unalived before on social media. It's not like I've seen it. But my 14-year-old son is the one presenting this to me. And that's how we are so desensitized. And and it's not like he's like, hey, Dad, it's almost as if he'd seen it before. If that doesn't upset you to your core, it breaks my heart. This man, this husband, this father lost his life yesterday. And all these kids across this country are watching and laughing in cases about how he died. That's the part that we have to change that. And there's not probably a way to change it, to be fair. I mean, it's outside, the cat's out of the bag, right? I had a chance here a few weeks ago to be part of a presentation about how cell phones and how they're damaging to kids and how bad it is, and how it's leading to higher suicide rates, how it's leading to higher this and just not higher levels of depression. And there's an organization that's dedicated their time and effort to help, they call it detoxing from your phone. I can't think of a better time to detox from your phone. We're not meant to see that kind of stuff. We're not meant to see it. Our eyes are not meant to see what we saw yesterday. And granted, there are people who were there who had no choice. They were there. They saw it in person, up close and personal, and now they're reliving it in a cell phone video on TikTok. I don't care what side of the aisle you are on. I don't care. We are all human beings. We're people. To be fair, if we took this entire country and put it into one room, what it would look like on Christmas morning is probably it looked like a big dysfunctional family on Christmas morning. I think it would. We'd be yelling and screaming and laughing and hugging, and there'd be a lot of in-betweens. I really do believe that. And a man lost his life yesterday on live in front of a whole bunch of people. And doing something he loved to do, as divisive as it was, like what we do right now, what we love to do. So prayers for him and his family.
Yeah. But you have a right in this country to be able to do that. You have a right. We all do. And the justifying of political violence that we've obviously seen since then, and some of the dialogue around that is completely lacks any bit of empathy whatsoever. And the most damning part of it is that people can't stop to think about the fact that he was a father, and he did have kids, and he did have a wife. And whether or not you agree with what he was saying, there is no justification for political violence. The entire point of what this country was and what it was founded on and the ideals and the principles and everything else along those lines was focused solely. And there's a reason why it's number one on that list of rights that we all have, you, me, Ryan, and everybody else for living in this country. Number one on that list is freedom of speech. There's a reason why it's number one on that list. And so to people who justify political violence, whether it be someone, whoever it is, there's no justification. There is no there's no way of justifying or saying that this is okay. So those are the things that kind of make me lose hope in humanity sometimes. And that's why I like sports. That's why I do this, because there is joy, there is laughter, there is community, there are all those things. And I think we have a mental health crisis in the United States. I mean, we can talk about this, that, or the other thing. We can talk about banning this or that or restricting this or that. Let's call it what it is. We got a mental health crisis. And I don't know what's going to change it. I don't know what's going to solve it. I don't know if anything can. I feel like we're kind of past the point of no return in a lot of ways. But that's where we are right now, JT.
No question about it. Charlie Kirk died yesterday, obviously in front of a crowd of people. And our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family here on this Thursday morning. When we come back, we will dive into Western Michigan soccer. Lewis Robinson, the head coach, will join us next here on Inside the Game.
Flint City Bucks are Michigan's top soccer franchise with 4 national championships, 9 conference titles, and 15 Great Lakes Division titles. They have produced 107 players for Major League Soccer, and they focus on attracting top talent and shaping soccer's future. Michigan Bucks Academy joins NLS Next new competition tier starting in September of 2025. This offers elevated levels of play and flexibility for high school participation. The Academy will provide premier development, high-performance training, and exposure to scouts through regional tournaments and MLS Next events. For more information on tryouts, training programs, and key updates as we prepare for our first season in MLS Next new tier, visit MichiganBucksAcademy.com.
Welcome back into episode number 156 here on this Thursday, September the 11th. We will get into some September the 11th here a little bit later in the show. But before we dive into that, we are going to bring in Lewis Robinson, the Western Michigan women's head soccer coach. Lewis, first off, man, welcome to Inside the Game. We do not hear you, so you might have to go into your settings and adjust your audio. So what we might have to do in the time being is bring it back to just me and Nate and Ryan. We can work on that behind the scenes. So real quick, Nate, as we pivot here, the MAC is a really good conference on the women's side of the game. We've seen that. We know that. We've seen the likes of Bowling Green have success here. Ohio University have success here over the last couple of years. Matter of fact, they did it in great fashion here just 2 years ago. And so it's just one of those interesting things where, Western has been obviously very, very good, but there are a lot of teams in that entire conference that are really, really strong.
Yeah, well, and for this Western team, I mean, the way that they started the year, of course, they had their couple of exhibition matches, their scrimmages, if you will. They got Purdue, Fort Wayne, and then Northwestern, fine. But then they begin the regular season immediately right off the bat. You have Notre Dame, which is the top 2 in the country, number 2 at the time, lost that one 2-1, so put up a really good fight in that match, and then obviously had to take on another top 10 team in Iowa. So then they faced number 7 Iowa the following game, lost that one 2-0. But that's a tough start. I mean, if you get FaceTime with 2 top 10 teams to begin the season, that's going to teach you a lot of valuable lessons that you can carry into everything else that you do. And then they turn it around and 2-0 shutout against Creighton. They beat Michigan 2-1. They beat Detroit Mercy, obviously last time out 4-1. Now they have DePaul that they're facing off against. This is a team that, again, little bit of a rocky start, but if you can start it off with facing off against those top 10 teams, it's going to give you a lot of momentum and a lot of valuable lessons that you can carry into the MAC. But you're right, the conference itself has gotten far better. I think it's interesting. Something else we should mention is just, I think they're right now, Western is just kind of going through this renaissance. I think it started with hockey winning a national championship, but their athletics programs continue to get better and better. I mean, really across the board. So it's worth definitely mentioning that. But yeah, I mean, you're kind of into the thick of it. You got DePaul, but then immediately after that, you get into Miami. You got Bowling Green on the road, and then obviously Ohio, as you were just talking about, they're back at home. Nice little home stretch there. They got them, Toledo, and then UMass all at home. So really tough stretch in the conference, and it's one of those conferences, especially in women's soccer, I feel like they all just kind of beat up on each other a little bit. So we'll see exactly who pans out and who emerges out of all that. But they learned their valuable lessons in their first 2 games against a pair of top 10 teams, but they've looked solid ever since.
I think we've got it figured out now. And so now we'll bring in Lewis Robinson, the head coach of Western Michigan. Are you good? No, we had him and then we don't? It's unbelievable.
I hate technology.
We're still trying to figure this out. I know, right? It's in real live time, right? One more thing I would say, Lewis, can you hear us? So he can hear us. Take out your AirPods. Just see what happens. Do you have a microphone in your computer?
What about now? How's that?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, we got you now. All right.
Let's go.
Perfect.
Tech wizard.
There we go.
We got it figured. Man, sorry about that, fellas. It should be simple, shouldn't it? But we're here now, so I appreciate it.
No, it is okay. Well, Lewis, first off, welcome to Inside the Game. We're excited to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Appreciate all you guys do, and I appreciate the opportunity.
So let's talk women's soccer at Western Michigan. I know a lot of coverage has been talked about the men's side over the years, right? Chad Wiseman's done a great job there, but you have done a fantastic job in your own right. You've won 2 MAC League titles in consecutive years, right? You are currently on a 3-game win streak here, obviously starting off 0-2. That's a non-league schedule, can kind of get in the early going of a season. You were picked preseason league winners once again. Talk about how you're able to pull this off, because I think that one of the biggest challenges is being consistent. How do you stay consistent? How do you stay on top? And I'd imagine on some level as a coach, that's something that you're having to deal with right now in real time.
Yeah, definitely. And, we're very lucky. We've had a great experience the last couple of years. And as you rightly mentioned, we've got a fantastic men's program here who we're able to work pretty closely with and share ideas and kind of jump on the coattails of a little bit, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's definitely the challenge, I think, in college soccer now is being consistent, especially in such a transfer portal heavy world. Kind of gone are the days where you have classes and you know that you rely on them for 4 years and everything shapes out that way, right? It's the positive is it's maybe a little bit easier, or there's an opportunity to jumpstart things a little bit quicker, but then you're kind of under the pressure every year to reload and continue with the standards. So, we've been able to do that in the 3 years I've been here. We've been able to gradually improve, I think, a little bit each year. But it's definitely not easy. It takes a lot of work and a lot of great people behind the scenes to get that done, for sure.
So, you look at this season, and obviously you have a big game coming up here against DePaul here on Saturday. You have, again, won 3 in a row. You start off 0-2. When your team goes off and loses the first 2 games of the season, what's that conversation like to get the team, especially in 2025, to get a team that had so much success last year, to get them kind of rolling again? Because I can imagine a little bit going into this, there's an excitement about last year, building on that. Hey, did we take a step back, or how does that look? Because you were 0-2 to start the season.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, great question. And that was hard. I mean, we'd kind of planned a little bit for it, and you always plan through when you build these seasons, like best case scenario, right? You're sitting 5-0, 5 games in. Worst case scenario, you're sitting 0-5. There's a reality that can happen in this game too. When we scheduled those games and we knew our opening 4 games in Notre Dame, Iowa, Creighton, and Michigan, right? There's a reality that you can lose all of those games, very, very quickly and very simply. Our plan all along was get in them, get tested against some of the best teams in the country, hopefully come out with a couple wins, maybe 2 wins, maybe 3 wins, maybe 1 win. Then you get into the thick of those 4 games and you think like, wow, these 4 games don't come as a 4. They come like one game after the other. So you got to play each of these like powerhouse programs, great coaches, great teams on an individual game where the last game doesn't matter and the next game doesn't matter. So it's certainly pretty daunting, but I think the way it went for us, like the Notre Dame game for the opener went really well for us in a lot of ways. We lost 2-1, so of course that wasn't what we wanted. It wasn't what we planned, but I thought we gave a really good account of ourselves. We played against, one of the top attacking teams, I believe now the number 1 team in the country. And we made it really hard for them, and we gave a really good account of ourselves. And not saying for 1 second we're a better team than them, of course, but we competed with them in certain areas in the game, which we were able to take loads of positives from. We got away with a 2-1 loss where we had some chances. We felt we left a couple of chances out there as well, so that was great. Then we followed it up. We went to Iowa, where honestly it was a bit of an opposite feeling. We felt like we didn't really get off the bus at Iowa. They a very different team, but equally difficult to play against. And honestly, they just plowed over us. They were physical, they were direct, they were aggressive, they were really hard, and we never really got going. And we really didn't give a good account of ourselves. So then you kind of regroup the next week and you take those 2 lessons, like the things we did well at Notre Dame to give us a chance to win, the things we didn't do well at Iowa to result in not having a chance to win that game. And then you pick some things from it, right? And then we were able to get through a really physical game in Creighton. Great win for our program. That was a tough one. And then obviously, whenever you play at Michigan, it's a tough game. And to be able to go in there and come out with a win like we did is a real confidence booster. So I think it's been a great 4 or 5 game spell that we've been able to learn some lessons. We've been able to have some highs, have some lows, and ultimately that's what gets you ready for conference runs too, right?
What were some of your biggest lessons? What were some of your biggest takeaways personally from facing off against 2 top 10 teams to begin the season?
Yeah, well, there was a load of them because, they're very opposite teams, right? Notre Dame have to be like one of the prettiest possession-based soccer teams you'll watch play. And if you're watching games, like you watch them play, they play a very kind of structured possession formation. That all of their players are super technical. They very rarely play the transitional game, play on the counter. They're looking to dominate the ball. Transitional game, play on the counter. They're against them, which we did well. And then Iowa are a very fast-paced, direct transitional team. So you got ready for 2 different things. I think against Notre Dame, we learned how to defend on our terms and really exploit teams in a counterattack, which we know we're pretty good at. Against Iowa, we learned that, hey, if you show up and you're 1% not in this game, you're not ready to physically and mentally compete, the rest of it is worthless, and there's no point in showing up. And I think that's what happened at the Iowa game, and we took that lesson. And listen, since we got back from that Iowa trip, we've shown up physically and mentally in everything we do, and we know if we do that, we'll always have a chance. If we do get to do that, we get to work on the X's and O's and the fun part of the game, and I think that was a really important lesson early on against the top team, which. Also, I mean, there's no shame in losing to that team, right? I think a lot of teams will lose to that team this year. So it's nice to take that lesson and know that we could have done better. And hopefully we get to play them again at the end of the season, right?
Is that your radio in the background? Are you jamming over there? Or is that something?
No, you know what? I've got my office here at Western Michigan is actually turns into a football suite. So I oversee the football stadium right here. So football practice goes on 9 to 11. So periodically they blast rap music here. So apologies if you can hear that in the background.
You're good.
There's no way to avoid that one, unfortunately.
Just trying to get ready. I get it. One of the things I wanted to quickly ask, because I think it's interesting, and we're seeing it at Western specifically. It seems like there's a bit of a renaissance going on with some of their athletics teams. I mean, you see what hockey did in winning a national championship. There's a lot of other programs that continually get better. And I think one of those areas that maybe not a lot of people see or know about is obviously soccer and what you guys have been able to accomplish and build, and now the respect you're getting from the conference as well. What went into, how have you been able to kind of build something that is now almost systematic to where success is kind of building on success over at Western?
Yeah, I think that number one, I think success, standards, winning, like it's all contagious, right? I think it all rubs off with each other. I think, like I mentioned at the beginning, no coincidence, we have a successful men's team. We work pretty closely together. I think one of the staffs that we share, we're next door to each other in an office. We share ideas. We work pretty close. I think that's important. I think you mentioned the hockey championship. We've had a lot here on campus the last few years. I think it's department-wide. I think we've got very strong leadership who sets very high standards. And, hey, we value winning here. I think that's something in this institution. When I came here and we spoke to AD Dan and his team, and the big important part of that was winning is really important here, right? We want to win, of course, off the field in all other areas, but we enjoy championships, and we celebrate championships, and we celebrate wins, and that's a big part of the DNA of who we are. And it might sound all schools, it's just not. I think others have different values and different priorities, but here, we don't move away from, like, winning is important. That's why we play the sport. That's why we're part of this program. It's not to say we're going to win every day and we're going to win every championship, right? We won't, but we do value that. And I think when you get a part of that, and you get a part of a department and a program and a soccer field where we expect success, I think it's contagious. And we've worked really hard to make sure that we bring the right people into the room who also value that. Because, like I said, as sad as it is, not everybody does, and I think that might be something that's pretty unique here.
Lewis, you are in the result business, right? We talk about this a lot with coaches, right? In the Division I college era, you are responsible for winning soccer games, right? And you have had a chance to do some really great things in your short time at Western, right? You are the first team in MAC history to go undefeated in league play in consecutive seasons, right? 23 and 24. You were named two-time MAC Coach of the Year, 23, 24. So those 2 years, right? And then obviously the fact that your administration there at Western believes so much in you that they gave you a contract extension here this February. Knowing that you have that support, does that take that layer of pressure off a little bit so you can focus on the things that are most important in the program, which is growing it and making it stronger? Because I feel like sometimes when you have that pressure of, like, hey, you have to always win, all these things, you don't always have that support of your administration. You don't always feel like you have that support.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you guys know, you speak to enough people in this world, and this soccer world, that, contracts are typically short and they typically get broken if anything comes along, right? Whether it's opportunity or whether it's a couple of bad results. And something we have here, like I say, I feel every day that my leadership have a lot of faith in me and our process. And I hope and I think that then runs into the players and the team and my staff as well. And of course it is. And I think you're exactly right there, Jonathan. I think we forget, and again, we forget sometimes with all of the other things going on, that we are in a results business. We are. And results are still a really important part of why we should play this game and why the game is played. It's not everything, right? Of course not. Like, there's a lot of other important areas and values we have in our program, but we are a part of that. And I think my values align with that, along with our leadership. And I think that shows in the way we do our work every day. And certainly it's a great place to be. I'll tell you, I'm very happy here and enjoy coming to work every day and love the people I get to work with and for, and my team I get to work over. We all share most of those values too, which makes for a great day-to-day environment.
Oh, absolutely. We talked to a lot of coaches. We had a chance yesterday to talk with Bobby Muss from Wake Forest. We talked with the NC State's head coach, men's soccer coach here early in the week as well, Mark Hubbard. We're talking with coaches. We're asking these questions because schools like Wake Forest, schools like NC State now are what we consider to be destination schools, right? If you are a player coming up right now, a high school player who maybe not, because we also believe that because of the transfer portal, it's really becoming one of these things where you're not recruiting the same way you used to recruit, right? Going after and getting that freshman, it's now, well, let's see what the transfer portal might look like to bring in those kind of free agents, so to speak, that have already played at a collegiate level in some way. Is Western Michigan a destination school?
Like, you're spot on the way you think, the way you explain it. I think there's so many different schools, right? And on the women's side, we got 360 something, and I think everyone is different, for better, for worse, has its own ideas. I think what we are is we're a destination for people that want the things that we provide, right? So we're a very transferable school. We offer just about every major. We're geographically located smack bang in between Detroit and Chicago, right? So you're from Detroit, you're from Chicago, which are two soccer hotbeds. You want to be 2 hours from home so your family can come watch. You can get home to see them. That's it. We have everything around us that you need to be successful as a soccer player, right? You have coaches, you have facilities, you have support. So in that, like, if those are the things you want and you like to compete to win championships and be held to that standard, I believe that Western is a destination program, right? Now, if you don't value those things, or you say you do, but you don't really, then there's a lot of other places out there, right? And we're not the only one, of course. There's different destination programs in every conference, in every geographic area, but that's who we've had success with. And like you mentioned, the gap, I believe strongly that there's still an opportunity for the four-year player, and you need those four-year players. But you're naive if you don't use the transfer portal to your advantage. And I think we've had success when we've combined the two of those things. We've still got a lot of fantastic freshmen that come in, four-year players that want to be here at Western Michigan, want to be here for 4 years, want to get a Bronco degree, want to be here as part of our program. But we've also had some success with some guys that have come in the door and they're here for 3 months, and they're here for a season, or they're here for 2 seasons. So I think you've got to combine both of those things to be successful in this game in 2025. And we're all, I guess, still trying to figure it out, right?
What's up, Lewis? Ryan here. I'm the producer here, and of all these coaches' interviews, I've never asked a question, but today is going to be that day because I had to. So I'm a Chippewa, actually. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I got to call all the CMU women's games, home games last year, and I was really impressed with your side and Jen Blitchock. And my question for you is, does the CMU Western rivalry for you guys, when it's the week of, does the intensity kind of dial up? Is it an all year kind of thing, or like kind of how is the CMU Western rivalry for you guys over there?
Yeah, well, good to see you again, and apologies first off that you didn't get accepted into Western, so you had to go to Central.
I didn't apply there.
That's normally the story.
Yeah.
I know. I'm kidding.
Come on.
Where's the clapping? The button? Come on.
No, I'm not doing the clapping button today.
No, listen, hey, it is, man. It is. And it's a lot of fun. Listen, it's another unique thing we have here at Western is playing in the MAC. Whatever you think of the MAC is a 12-team conference with a lot of close rivalry games that we can get on a bus, drive to a game, play a school that we've all got similar resources, right? There's nobody in this league that is too good and can't be touched. And there's nobody in this league that you walk into a game and you go into that game thinking, can't wait, going to be an easy day today, right? And I think that's what's great about the MAC. So when you throw in that Western Central rivalry, like, of course, that it means a lot for our players. It means a lot for this school, right? When that week comes along, it's always a big one. And as you probably know, we've struggled in that game the last couple of years. You know, they've always been a little bit of a slip up for us. And I think you'd probably look on paper and say we should win that game, how the teams line up. And it always goes out the window come that week. You know, it's history, and the season and your record always doesn't mean anything for that day, right? And we've struggled with it a little bit. I mean, Central's always been, in my eyes, maybe a little bit of an underperforming team on the season. But they've got a lot of good players. They've got great coaching staff. They make it tough, and of course they get up for this game too. So yeah, we've circled that one a little bit this year, and we're hoping to get that one back and put in a good performance, because we've like I say, we've struggled with it the last couple of years. I think that maybe the moment has got to us a little bit, and we've played the rivalry instead of the game sometimes. But it certainly has a little bit of extra spice on it, and we're looking forward to it again.
All right, thank you, Lewis. Thank you.
Jeez, Pete's. I love that comment. If that goes down as the mic drop moment here on the show, I'm sorry you didn't get accepted in Western.
It's great. It was a great one. I won't lie.
It's like, that was great. If only that would have been like the end of like the show, right? Been like, mic drop, out we go, right? It was perfect. But this is my last question for you, Lewis. We ask all of our coaches, anyone that comes on our show, and sometimes we ask it a little bit different. Western's known for some really good places, some hole-in-the-wall places to get some food. It's known for a lot of really kind of places that if you're of age to go out and get a nice drink. A question for you. You come home off of a MAC road trip, right? And you're feeling, you're that urge to go grab a bite to eat, right? Where are you going?
Oh, it's a great question. Great question. So I'm a bit unique. On my drive home from the field to my house, there is the Gun Lake Casino that I drive straight past. So they got a beautiful steakhouse. They got a great Chinese place in there. So that's usually my go-to and my stop off at home. On campus, we're lucky. We got a couple of great little student restaurants and Roadhouse and in the Goat. There's a little hole-in-the-wall bar, Waldo's, which is right next to the football stadium, which any local will always tell you about and we'll get to. So, yeah, we're lucky. But, the casino restaurant is usually my stop off on the way home, and see if I'm feeling lucky or not.
I was going to say, are you throwing a $20 bill in to see if you win a couple $100 real quick in a slot machine,
so we can win some more?
I usually am. Yeah, the rule is if we're winning, that's what we usually do. So a little bit of fun, yeah.
Well, there you go. Well, Lewis, you guys played DePaul here on Saturday at home. Currently 3-2 here to start your season. MAC play begins here later this month. And obviously, we're excited to have you on the show. And we wish you and Western Michigan much success here the rest of the way.
Yeah, thanks for having us, guys. And thanks for all you do for the soccer community here and nationally. So appreciate you guys.
Well, we appreciate you as well.
Sir.
When we come back here, we will dive into we'll talk about 9/11. It is 9/11. Me and Nate have our stories of where we were when that happened. Ryan has a unique story as well. We'll dive into that here on the other side of the break.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind. Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics, letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail. Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play, NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate. Call 586-304-4405 and start watching today.
Welcome into our Shelby Township studios here in Michigan. Nate Wangler is out in his Grand Rapids location, and you're looking here at kind of our wide studio cam. We've got a number of different looks here you can take a look at. There's another one right there, and obviously when I come back in, you have my regular camera. But it is episode number 156. There's Nate. He's back here joining us this morning. It is Thursday, September the 11th, and for anyone that was born, prior to 2001, that would have been able to at least remember those moments. I would imagine today is one of those days that you look back on, just like I'm sure we're gonna look back on a day like yesterday as well. And where were you? Where were you when you found out about what was happening in New York City on 9/11? My story is probably not very unique to a lot of other people, right? I was actually in college. I was in a computer lab writing a paper for my English class when a student was like, hey, do you guys hear about what was happening in New York? Now, keeping in mind, back in 2001, we had cell phones, but they were really only used for texting and calling, right? They were not the computers that they are today. And so, what did you get most of your news? Well, you got it on your computer, right, through the Yahoo and the Google and all the other things that were available then. I don't know if Google was even then. Maybe they were. I don't remember when Google actually came about, but maybe then Yahoo. I don't know. But I was in that lab, and then an announcement came across the loudspeaker saying, classes are dismissed for the day. And I got in my car, and I started to drive home, and that's when I had the radio on, and you could hear I think I was listening to like Mojo in the Morning at that time, or a radio show very much like that. And, they were talking about what was happening. They were watching on TV. And I remember I was coming down M59. I was getting close to the Rochester Road exit in between Crooks and Rochester Road here in Michigan. And the second plane had hit the second tower. And I remember hearing that. And I immediately punched my steering wheel. And I didn't lose control of my car, thank goodness, but I hit my steering wheel. I was that pissed. Like, what is going on right now? And then obviously, get home, and now you turn the TV on, and now we're all glued to our TVs over what happened, and then watching the towers. I'll never forget watching the towers come crumbling down. And, again, you're in real time, you're watching people die. Now, granted, we didn't necessarily see, that, but that's what's happening. Obviously 24 years later, my thoughts are different about, that moment. You can reflect on it. Obviously one of our darkest days in our history, but I will remember the shining moments that came after that as well. I have never felt more unified from a country standpoint than the days after. I felt like we were all coming together as a nation. I felt like that we were all, together, and that we were all on the same wavelength. Everyone was proud to be an American. Everyone talked about how great it was to be an American after such a terrible thing that had happened. I remember the songs that were being changed to reflect the moments. I remember people walking around with American flags on their arms, and I love New York, and I love FDNY. I mean, all those shirts came out as a result of what happened on 9/11. I remember as a referee refereeing a soccer game, and we all stood at midfield, and at that time I lived with my mom and my dad, so I wasn't married and had any kids. But I remember my mom she literally sewed on American flags on all my referee jerseys.
Shout out.
And so
Yeah.
I never felt more I never felt prouder, and I never felt more like I was an American as a result of what happened after 9/11. And that's the part to me right now that I dislike the most right now in this moment. I am still proud to be an American, but I don't feel like our nation feels that same way. Not like it did. I feel like we've lost that.
Yeah.
And so if I reflect on everything, I want us to be back there, not because of the tragic event, but because that tragic event brought us all closer together.
That's what tragedy does. That's what tragedy does. I mean, it puts everything in perspective. Like, if you know someone who has faced death in their life, I mean, ask them. Just ask them straight up. You know, what did that teach you? What did that change about you? It's perspective. You realize that everything that you, Ryan, me, anybody else, this ability for us to get up and just do what we like to do every day and live a life that is healthy, live a life where people love us, where we don't have to worry about our safety every single day, where we have the right and the autonomy to make the choices that we want to make. There are millions of people who exist in this world who will stop at nothing to take all of that away from you. Like that. And I think September the 11th, that day, taught us that at the end of the day, we're fragile enough if we don't pay attention to where someone will absolutely. And it might not be all of us all at once, but they're going to do what they need to do to start poking holes in taking away the certain things that we have here that they don't have anywhere else. And because tragedy gives you perspective, and going so long without it and existing in a society that in so many ways is so unbelievably comfortable, you start to lose that perspective. You can see it on the news, you can see it on social media, you can see it everywhere else, but if you yourself are not directly involved with it, it's easy for people to forget. It's easy for people to forget. And that's why sometimes it takes something tragic happening to the whole in order to bring people back together. I mean, that's why I feel like sometimes when you look at our grandparents' generation, they have this thing called perspective and an understanding of just how fragile all of that stuff is, because they had to live through it, because they saw it firsthand. They were right there on the front lines, whether that was at home, whether that was actually on the battlefield. They all saw it. They understand it. We've gone so long without having to feel or see or be exposed to something on that scale. And that's why I think sometimes we just get comfortable and we live in this fantasy land where we think the grass is always greener on the other side. And so I don't remember anything from 9/11 specifically. I was too young. I think kindergarten, first grade, something like that. I can't remember. I mean, all I know is I was picked up from school. I do remember that. Obviously, I've heard a lot of secondhand stories from people. My dad was at work. My mom obviously brought me home. So I don't remember anything specifically from 9/11. But 24 years is a long time. And not that I think people are forgetting, but I think when you go long enough to where you're protected enough and you have the rights that we do, it almost just kind of becomes an assumption that they're always going to be there every day that you wake up. It's a lot of people. There's a lot of people in this world who wake up every single day who fear dying every single day. That's why you see how close some of those communities are, and how religious those people are, because they have to cling on to every last sliver of hope just to make it through another day. I think that's a part of it. I think we can't forget about what happened on that day. We can't. We simply can't.
Yeah. So what I like about, all of us here is we all have different perspectives where John actually, really remembers it. And then Nate, you were born, but, don't quite exactly know. And there's me who wasn't even born at all. So I was a 2003 baby, but I didn't understand this until I was about nine or 10 years old, like right around after Bin Laden, we got Bin Laden. And so I remember on 9/11, I played a soccer game. It was a Sunday. And again, 9 or 10, I don't remember exactly what year, or what age, but I'm like, we're playing Vardar. And, we always had really tough games against Vardar. We always kind of knew like this was, it was always a 1-goal game. Could have been 3-2, 2-1, 1-0, like that. And we're sitting there, and I knew we were getting we won the Peach Fest. We were getting our T-shirts for that day. We're gonna take a photo after the game, so I was really excited. And then I walked into my mom's room, my mom and dad's room right before, and they're watching stuff all these stuff in New York, and Obama was there, and I was like, that's kind of odd, that's weird. And then I got to the field, we're doing warm-ups, and I'm out on the field, and we're ready to get kickoff going, and we're ready to go. And all of a sudden, the ref's let's have a moment of silence. I'm like, moment of silence for what? I didn't understand at all. And then we had one of my really good buddies. His dad was a firefighter around Macomb here. God rest his soul, by the way. And he was a great dude. And they were trying to get him to be on the field. And I'm like, but he was in the parking lot or something. But I was like, what is going on? And I didn't really understand at all until after that game, where I asked my parents, I'm like, dude, what was that about? I didn't understand at all. And then it wasn't really until I got to middle school, 6th grade, where our vice principal came out over the air speakers before the school day started and was like, let's remember everything. And I'm like, I still didn't understand it. So I had to do obviously in school I learned about not until middle school. So that wasn't until 2015, 2014, I believe. So it took me a while to to really understand the significance. Obviously, I've done a lot of research kind of on my own and watching documentaries, but it just, I can't even fathom, living through that. I've never, I can't, really something that significant where it's an attack on U.S. soil. Outside of, Pearl Harbor and 9/11, we really haven't had any significant impact here in the U.S., but, not really understanding that at all. And then people that, my parents and other family members and friends that have experienced it and know about it firsthand, it's a little bit tough. And I still, really can't understand the significance because I wasn't there or I wasn't around for it, wasn't even born at all. But, it's something that, we've got to remember forever, all the loved ones and all the families that have lost ones. And, to see that, if you had someone in the Pentagon or in the Twin Towers, that it's on film for you, and you kind of, I'm sure it gives a chill down everyone's spine that lost a family member on that day.
Yeah, no, it it certainly does. I did not have anyone close to me that was lost that day. I grew up in Troy, here in Michigan, and so I know that there were some friends of mine that had, either distant cousins or family members that were lost in the attack. But again, today is the 24th anniversary of 9/11. We're going to stay here. We're not going to go anywhere. We had a chance to go to the U.S. men's national team game here on Tuesday. We talked about that yesterday on the show. We showed some highlights of that game. The question, and we're going to have a question of the day here. We learned about some upcoming games coming up here in March. We'll talk about those tomorrow on the show. Nate and I, we've been very critical of the U.S. men's national team here over the last couple of weeks. We sit in this room, Ryan and I, on a lot of cases after the show, and I'll play Team USA in FIFA. And I just get obliterated. I think on Tuesday before we actually went, I think he scored a combined 17 goals to my 2 over the course of 3 games. So FIFA or FC 25 did not.
Also, for the people out there, it's not even just when we play as internationals. There's a lot of club games where I just obliterate them. So.
Well, at least I got.
So you want to be a streamer, huh?
Come on! I'm not gonna be able to live that one down.
I'm sorry, but let's take some. Are there any questions or comments that have come in from TikTok over the last couple of days that we can dive into here, related to the U.S. men's national team or anything related to soccer in this country?
Yeah,
you have mail.
There's our mailbag. This will be our mailbag. I'm just reading stuff off TikTok, which again, we just gained a follower during the show. So shout out to you. Demi is his name. So if you're not following us on TikTok, make sure you follow us here. Oh, I already put my camera on. I thought I had it, but anyway, this one is let's see. So I posted a video about what I need to see the day of about it, and then they need to show some heart. One of the users, user 1242, said, "Since 2022, since 2014, you mean, is when we lost our passion. U.S. men's national team have not been as aggressive or passionate since 2014."
When did Donovan step away? Was it in 14? Was that his last World Cup?
He was not on the World Cup roster.
Okay, so his last World Cup would have been in 2010.
Yes, but
Okay.
he was in the mix, and then Klinsmann left him off for 2014.
Okay, and then Clint Dempsey was also not in.
No, he was on that one.
By 14.
Yeah, 14 would be Dempsey's last.
Okay, so we talk about this, right? Because the gritty aspect of what we saw in '94 with Nalda, Alalis, right? We saw these John Harkes. We saw these unbelievable, like, old school U.S. men's national team players who kind of carried the torch, and then they pass it off to the next generation of player. The next generation of player was Landon Donovan. It was, McBride. Well, actually, I think McBride played part of that. But you had a number of these players, right? Jesse Marsh, right? The Taylor Twellman who played for a couple minutes with the U.S. men's national team, right? And again, this grittiness that we had. The problem that we faced in the anything after 2010 is Jurgen Klinsmann related, because again, we changed the way we played the game. Right? We changed our philosophical foundation that we were built on, which was a very direct, physical, gritty team. And we started to come into this environment where we stopped being this gritty, tough, physical team to being this, let's make it pretty. And when you do that, you're looking for a certain kind of player. You're looking for a player who knows how to play with the ball. They do it in a way in which it's technical, it's tactical. You're looking for a smarter player. I mean, I had players on my rosters when I played at high school, Ryan, that, kid you not, they didn't know much about the game of soccer, but they knew how to run through a player and how to head a ball. And from a center back standpoint, that's all that mattered back then. Right now, today, you can't do that. You can't rely on just a player that does that. But imagine what that would look like in today's World Cup environment, having a player who does not know that much about how to play the game other than going out there, being physical, and just hitting the ball with their head. I mean, like that's the player we had. I mean, but it's like
just a bunch of knuckleheads out there.
I'm just saying like that. But we have gotten smarter. We've gotten stronger. We've gotten faster. But I think because of that, we've actually taken a step back in regards to the physical component that it's needed. And we saw a little bit of that in waves on Tuesday in person, where you see a player making that slide tackle when maybe they didn't have to. Like that is a good example of the kind of physicality that you need, but you need it for 90 minutes, right? We need to be defensive-minded. We need to be more direct at times. We need to be putting pressure on these back lines of these through direct balls, especially direct balls that again, are diagonal. That really put pressure on back lines of other countries around the world. But I would agree with that sentiment. We have not been the same team since 2010.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think 22 was unique. I think they were young. I think they were scrappy. I do think, I mean, in terms of identity, I mean, they were routinely winning Nations Leagues. They were routinely winning Gold Cups. They were routinely beating Mexico. I mean, they were doing all the things that you wanted to see them do. They just didn't put it all together in the World Cup. I thought, obviously, we haven't seen yet Mauricio Pochettino really try to, I mean, he figured it out against Japan, but we'll see what he can do the remainder of the time. But, you know, I think that team had a lot of scrappiness to him. But like I said, that wave of players that now is a little bit older, a little bit more veteran, a little bit more time under their belt in the European game and playing in those higher leagues, like, it's a different story. They were young kids then. A lot of those players that we had out there were like kids. And so that's why I do think they were scrappy. I do think they got after it. I don't think Greg Berhalter was the best coach, number one. I don't think he was the best head man at that point, but they were also just inexperienced. So I think the rebuilding from 2018, because that was the low point in my mind. To 2018 was the low point. Like, to lose against Trinidad and Tobago, like, that was the bottom of the bottom. Everything they've done since then, I mean, you could really consider 22 a resurgence after something like 2018, to qualify for the World Cup, to get in, to win all these cups and these finals. So I wouldn't say every team since then it's been, I mean, they were scrappy. I like that group. They were just young. They were young. They were inexperienced. They didn't know how to win. So we'll see if they can turn that around for this upcoming World Cup.
And then we'll get to one more question I want you guys to talk about. But this one, same video from Fios TJ. I want to see quality link-up play, running through tackles, line-breaking passes, and for the love of God, will someone get stuck in and leave a mark? I would say we kind of saw that a lot in that game with a lot of the players getting stuck in. But we got to talk about the generational argument in our comment section with our goal that we posted, and a lot of people were shouting us out. For the Crew podcast shouted us for really good seats, but this was between GTO.Chris and Green Apples. These two argued, I think, for like 30 minutes in our TikTok comment section, just between the two of them. And GTO Chris said, by the way, not Japan's starting lineup tonight. And that is true. That is something we have to put into account. But then Green Apples immediately responds with, also not the U.S. starting lineup. And GTO Chris says, be real. And Green Apples says, I'm alive, bro. Of course I'm real. But again, generational argument in there. But I just want to talk about, do we have to take this game with a little bit of grain of salt because Japan did not start Matoma, Endo, or any of their starters?
And
Kubo didn't start either.
Yes. I mean, I think any victory can be, like any loss, can be dissected. I think you could absolutely look at it from that perspective. But at the same time, just like we have no control over, what they do, right? We and necessarily knowing what's going to happen in a specific game, because we can put your best players out there, and injuries can happen. You can only play the team that's in front of you, right? That's the only thing you can do. And so when the U.S. men's national team played that game, they played the team that was in front of them, and they did a really good job in managing their attack and managing these waves that Japan had, and then they found a way to capitalize on their opportunities. And it happens all the time at all different levels of soccer, right? Western Michigan in their non-league conference, we just talked with them here a few minutes ago. In their non-league conference, it's a different mentality when you play against a team who is not in your conference. Right, we see it in how you see it in football in college. Right, you have these 3 or 4 non-league games leading up to your Big Ten season, and so you're going to try some things that you wouldn't normally try. You're going to put players in positions. You can maybe try some different quarterbacks. You're going to do things you wouldn't normally do, because while winning is important, it's preparing for the next thing, which is more important. And we've even talked about that with Pochettino. Right, you got to give guys some breaks. You got to give guys looks. I mean, if you don't know who your players are going to be going into the World Cup, that's a problem. And right now, Pochettino, just like the head coach for Japan, is trying to identify who their fringe players are. Right, and so, but our biggest gripe with the U.S. men's national team has not been the players themselves. It has been the manner in which they've played. Mm-hmm. We have felt that they haven't put anything into it. We feel like they're leaving it on the field. The saying goes, you don't leave it on the field. You leave it on the field, but you don't come off the field with more still in you, right? You have to leave it all out there. You have to leave it on the field, right? And we don't seem to see that passion from this U.S. men's national team at times. We don't seem to see that fight, that energy, that grit, the things that we talked about in regard to those 2010 team, the 2006 team, the 2002 team, right? The things that we're like, oh my gosh, we love this team. We don't have that same love for them. And so because of that, we start to question everything else. Mm-hmm. So in regards to this win specifically, yes, you can dissect it. Is it a big win? It's a top 30 team. So from that perspective, we got to win over a top 30 team. I wouldn't consider this a signature win, but I would consider this a big win because it's a confidence booster. It's also a great way for us to take that break, right? Because we just finished this for the September camp, and we came out of it 1-1, and you ended it well. Now you build on it.
I agree. We shouldn't think it's the be all end all. I mean, if that's the question, like a win is a win is a win, and so that's going to make you feel good, and especially as a fan that's watched this squad do nothing but lose recently. That's a good feeling. But again, to your point, JT, the most important thing is figuring out and having these critical conversations about who's who and who should play where and who fits and who doesn't. You know, we saw the Josh Sargent v. Fuller and Balogun conversation that's been going on social media. Obviously, we have the question of who's going to play in goal. Like, these are the things that we figure out right now, because we can have the same conversation with any of these friendlies. I feel like we can have the same exact conversation. Well, so-and-so didn't play. So-and-so wasn't involved. Every single one of these games, you can do the same exact thing. You can have the same conversation. So that is going to follow you everywhere that you go. And both, that's the thing, that's the funniest thing about this fight in the comment section. They're both right. They're both right. They're both 100% right. So we're arguing really about nothing. Yeah, the U.S. didn't have all their best guys in there. Same with Japan. But that's not the point of what we're doing right now leading up to the World Cup. It's they had to play more inspired. They did that. I think that was something that you guys clearly saw firsthand. It's something that Ryan was reiterating yesterday. So we certainly saw what we wanted to see in that regard. But we're also trying to figure out who fits where. And from what I've seen, and I think Zendejas is a perfect example of this, he's kind of thrown a wrench into Mauricio Pochettino's plans. Now he has to, I've literally seen this, he has to really consider switching things up from what he originally wanted to do because there's a player that's surprising him. These are the moments to describe, to figure that stuff out, to build something that is ready to go for 2026 in the World Cup.
Yeah, you guys bring up great points, but there's something about this our stretch from 2014, 2022 that I'll bring up tomorrow because there's a good quote about it, but we have to get to my favorite part of the show. Question of the day. But before we do that, Salt Athletic, an official sponsor of us here at NSN. Make sure you use promo code NSN15 to save 15% off your order. Scan that QR code or visit saltathletic.com today. But question of the day. Rate this the September international window from a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest.
Go ahead, Nate.
10. 10 out of 10. No, I'm kidding. Probably, the win. Rate the win.
No, the whole window, so both games.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. I thought we were just talking about, my bad.
No, the window, international window. This current international
window. Okay. You know what? Out of 10, I'll give them a nice little, how about a nice little 6.5? All right. Because I would have told you 0 after the South Korea game, because honestly, it was just that looked a lot like our Nations League and our all those games, Copa America, it looked exactly of that variety. That was discouraging. Son Heung-min was clearly the best player on the field, although we would all tell you it's Christian Pulisic. It was not that night. They looked rough. That was just a bad showing for this team, and it put a bad taste in everyone's mouth, and we have about a day and a half, 2 days of everyone freaking out, and then we go out and we play against Japan, and mind you, it's not against their starters, but we look a little bit more inspired. You guys, again, saw that firsthand in Columbus, and so feelings change. Winning matters, and it was cool to see that the players addressed that, but I thought the bounce back against Japan was far better. So it went from a 0 up to about just above half. So I'll say 6.5 if I'm feeling gracious, maybe 7. But man, it's only 1, and if it's only 1 friendly, we still have a lot of work to do. But I think we figured out some things in that second game against Japan. At least I hope Poach did. It's really going to help us down the line.
Just because of the South Korea game and how we played that, I would go a 5 out of 10. And again. For obvious reasons, as Nate, you already alluded to, right? In that game against South Korea, we did not play like we were inspired. We played very flat. We played in a way in which we were not ready for that game. And you could argue a number of reasons as to why that is. And then what we do against Japan was significantly better, right? If I were to rate the Japan game, I would give them an 8 out of 10. Right, 0 out of 10 in the South Korea game, and maybe you can say, okay, well, 1 out of 10, fine, we'll split the difference, right? And so I think 5 out of 10 is perfect for what we're talking about. They won 1, they lost 1. We saw some great things out of Matt Freese during that window that at least from my perspective, it starts to, I think, put that pressure on Matt Turner. I said before that Matt Turner, no relation, by the way, was in prime position to hold that number one. I don't necessarily feel that same way after this window. And if we continue to see Matt Freese in that role over the next 4 or 5 games, I don't think Matt Turner is even on the roster. And so, you have to start asking yourself that question. So I think there's some things that I'm seeing that I like. And again, that could change. But I do think that 5 out of 10 is the right way to go with the question of the day on what was there on a scale of 1 to 10, what was our rating of this window. Tomorrow, we will have Mark Hubbard, head coach of NC State's men's soccer program, on the show here tomorrow. We had pre-recorded that interview here earlier in the week, but we'll have that here tomorrow on the show, and we'll dive into some more conversation about the U.S. men's national team and continue on here. But 156 is in the books. All right, I mean, that's...
Yeah.
He forced my hand.
We got some announcements coming up here as far as games this week as well. Tomorrow night, we've got Rochester Christian women's soccer, I believe, kicking off here on the network. And then on Saturday, we've got a number of really good games. We got Detroit Metro FC and the UPSL. They're kicking off their fall season. Their first home game is on Saturday. And then we have a U.S. Open Cup game in Chicago on Saturday night between Chicago Strikers and KS Wisloka. You can watch both those games on our National Soccer Network.tv. Also, MASL League of Nations is a tournament going on this weekend. Those games in prime time available on our network as well. You'll have all 4 of those games kicking off here on Saturday and Sunday on the National Soccer Network. So exciting weekend ahead here. Sports Nation TV will also have another bunch of hockey games as well. So we are busy this upcoming weekend.
God, so many horns.
So many horns. But that'll wrap up number 156 here today. We appreciate you stopping on by. If you haven't already done so, subscribe, like us, share this with your friends and family. Follow us on TikTok and all social media. That's Nate Wangler. Ryan Glinsky, our producer. I'm Jonathan Turner. That'll wrap up today. Have a great rest of your Thursday. And we'll see you back here tomorrow morning for number 157 right here on the National Soccer Network. From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wangler bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff, just real talk, real soccer. This is Inside the Game.